if I had to sum up the impact of Nick Pope in his first season with Newcastle United, I would say to you, and this is perhaps quite surprising, that he's only played 37 league games for Newcastle United, and yet I'm considering him in the list of the greatest goalkeepers Newcastle have had in their 130-year history. Now, I know the problem with that. I mean, where in the pecking order he would fit. I know the problem with that is that you've only played 37 games. There was the same problem with Tony Green in the Newcastle midfielders because he played even less, but he's up there or thereabouts. And with Nick Pope, you think 37 is not enough to put him there. But if he continues on the form that he has shown this season, and there's no reason to suspect that he will not, where would he be in the pecking order? I'll remind you of the pecking order I did for the Chronicle a couple of years back before Nick joined us. My first goalkeeper in 130 years was Shea Given. My second was Jimmy Lawrence. Third, Fairbrother, and fourth, Simpson, who were the two goalkeepers in the 50s, and then sixth, Tim KRUL. Now, right now, and this is how I am rating Nick Pope, I would suggest that Nick Pope could slot in at 3. And to say that after Shea Given and Jimmy Lawrence, who were stupendous, Shea Given played 463 games for us and is, for me, by far the best goalkeeper Newcastle's ever had. Jimmy Lawrence has got to qualify. Even I, at my age, didn't say Jimmy Lawrence play. But when you looked at his record, he played 496 games. He was the third highest appearances for Newcastle. Shea Given was first, Frank Hudspeth was second, Jimmy Lawrence third, then we went on Frank Clark, etc. And Jimmy Lawrence, by the way, I mean, he played 18 years for Newcastle, and he was a goalkeeper. The difference, Pope is well over 6 foot, but Jimmy Lawrence, who won all the titles and FA Cups and everything with Newcastle, was only 5'8.5", you know. Goalkeepers were incredibly different in those days. But I think that Pope has got the potential to become the number 3 in the pecking order, which would put him ahead of Fairbrother, Simpson, and Willie McFall, who was 5, and KRUL 6, would put him ahead of Willie McFall. That's how highly I rate him. He has yet got to justify it, I know, in the long term. But right now, I think he can be as good as that. You know why? Because I think Newcastle haven't been blessed with great goalkeepers over the years, you know. Shea Given is absolutely outstanding. The 250s goalkeepers, yes. McFall for his longevity, yes. Pav was wonderful, but same with Harps, but not in the whole pantheon. We haven't had great goalkeepers. This potentially is a great goalkeeper.
Wow, that's quite the statement. Quite a few statements there to pick into. I mean, the list itself is one of great Newcastle United goalkeepers. Even if you weren't around to watch them in the flesh, I'm sure that you've picked up a book or watched a VHS of some of the names you've mentioned there. And me and Aaron Stokes were actually having this conversation before I came in to record the podcast about where he ranks in terms of the great Newcastle United goalkeepers. And we both said Shea Given is top, as you've put him there, and that, you know, I mean, that shows you the levels he's got to go to. It's interesting, though, that you, even after just a season, John, would put him ahead of people like Willie McFall and Tim KRUL. You know, and in the discussion in the office, we were talking about, you know, Tim KRUL, and he was a tremendous goalkeeper for Newcastle United, was here a long time. I think in terms of ability, Nick Pope's the better goalkeeper, but I don't know if that list for me is solely based on ability. I think I think you've got to give him another season, another 2 seasons before you maybe say, yes, he goes above KRUL in the list, because I don't think it's just, is he a better goalkeeper? I think there's other elements that roll into that list. But to you guys listening, please do get in touch, either via me on Twitter or drop me an email with your thoughts on this, because I'm sure you guys have got a lot to say. And we'll also, John, dive into the list of where Pope stands in terms of not only the best goalkeeper in the Premier League era, but also current day Premier League shot stoppers. We'll do that later in the show. But very interesting, very interesting indeed.
I mean, we've got to remember as well that Jack Fairbrother, who Jackie Milburn always said was the greatest goalkeeper of that era, the 50s, rather than Ronnie Simpson. Fairbrother wasn't capped by England. Harper wasn't capped by England. Nick Pope has been, but I know it's limited. And I did qualify this by saying he has got to continue to maintain the standards that he's set this season. But what I'm trying to get over is that is how high I think we have in this goalkeeper the potential to end up number 3, not on appearances. Who will ever get near 463 and 496 or whatever? So Lawrence was the greatest appearance. Given was third. And Given would have beaten Lawrence's record if he only had stayed for another season or 2 seasons. But I think that Pope has got the potential to be higher than Fairbrother, higher than Simpson. Willie McFall, bless him, was on the short side, was a magnificent goalkeeper for Newcastle. Unfortunately, he picked up only a handful of caps for Northern Ireland because Pat Jennings was there. Tim KRUL, I thought, was terrific, but I do think that come the end of time, which is when Pope retires or leaves Newcastle, if he's put in the yardage, he will be seen as the more influential goalkeeper.